We are finally getting around to talking about this commit, and most of you have known about him for quite some time. It's a very important one for the 2024 class. Let's talk about what it means for him and Auburn basketball. War Eagle, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Kyle, and as you're watching or listening today, be sure to drop a comment down below about this particular topic. It will help enter you into that ongoing subscriber giveaway for a signed Auburn football prize package. Details are in the description link. And lastly, we do want to thank members of our booster club like Elizabeth Owen, who help produce videos like this. As a reminder, and again, I apologize for the nature of getting this one so late to you all, as this commitment happened while I was on vacation about a month ago. We're just finally getting around to talking about this, but that doesn't change how excited I am to talk about this particular commitment, a huge one for the 2024 class. Labaron Philon, a huge one in the state of Alabama, and what it's going to mean for Auburn basketball's future. So let's get into it. Labaron Philon committed to the Tigers on February 3rd. It was only 2 days after another commitment for Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. Todd Pettiford, we've done a video about him that you should go check out. But let's jump into the timeline of events that brought us to the actual commitment for this particular commit. And as you can imagine, there were a lot of traditional powers that had some interest in him, especially late, but most of the in-state interest was coming from Alabama and looked like the likely other candidate for this particular commit. The offer from Auburn came in on April 22nd of 2022 when he was a sophomore. The official visit for Auburn was the only one that he took, but he did take an unofficial visit to Alabama. He then narrowed down to 6 finalists, including Auburn and Alabama, and names like Kansas and Tennessee, until eventually deciding to go with the Tigers. Now, here are some of the facts that you might be interested in knowing about this particular commit. He is from Mobile, Alabama, and is a 4-star guard from Baker High School. His measurable 6'4", 175 pounds, a pretty good size for a guard overall, which puts him nicely measurables-wise at a shooting guard /2 position, depending on how you like to characterize that type of guard. A few storylines around this particular commitment. One is that it looks like for the future guard situation at Auburn is pretty set. If you count the commitment of Todd Pettiford, which came just days within this one, it looks pretty good, and you should feel good as an Auburn fan how you look at point guard, shooting guard, 2 guard. We're good at guard. It looks really good with these 2 commitments. The other cool thing about this in terms of storylines is who they beat out to get the commitment of Philon. Kansas was in the mix here. Yes, you had to beat out Alabama as the main foe in state, and that's a huge thing too, but you beat out Kansas and Tennessee. These are big-time programs that everybody wanted to have a crack at this particular commit. And just briefly, a few stats that we found that might be of interest to you and what you can anticipate he would bring to the table when he gets to Auburn. At the time of his commitment, he was averaging about 36 points per game in this particular season and shooting about 50% from the field. Now, that's in high school, obviously, but that's a really good sign. So what does that tell you? This guy is more of a scorer than a distributor, which kind of tells you what type of role he might have at Auburn. Now that you know a little bit about the player, let's talk about what it means, yes, for him, but especially Auburn basketball. And we start off by looking at what it means for this particular class. We're talking about the 2024 class. This will be the 3rd overall commitment, the 2nd guard commitment, and if he plays in the area that we think he will, the 2-guard combo guard situation, it makes him the 1st type of guard in that area too. Now let's ask the question, what will his playing time be like when he first arrives at campus? And keep in mind, still a junior right now, so a senior season to go, but who's going to be still here for him to compete against? Well, names that we're talking about currently, like Leor Berman, Zepp Jasper, and Alan Flanagan, and probably Katie Johnson too, will likely be gone. That leaves names like Chance Westry. Aiden Holloway still there for him to compete against. Now, if he's as good as advertised, he won't have any problem finding some playing time there, but it's going to be a pretty good competition. Quickly, let's talk about where the commitment came from. Yes, we've already mentioned it, the state of Alabama. We beat them out, but more importantly, where in Alabama he came from. Mobile, that's typically an Alabama stronghold. Now, we usually mention that in terms of football recruiting, but the point still stands. A lot of people from the Mobile area tend to go to Alabama for some reason. That's a huge thing that Auburn can go into their territory and steal one. And lastly, let's look at what this commitment probably means for the 2024 class. When I look at what will likely be here alongside him at that point, I got to really assume that we're pretty set at the guard position. Now, that doesn't mean that things won't change, and it probably will. People leaving earlier than normal or staying longer than we expected them to. But for now, we look pretty set, and I'm pretty set and happy with that future. So there you have it, my thoughts on your brand new commitment, Labaron Philon. Would love to hear your thoughts about him down in the comments section below, and be sure to do that because it'll help enter you into that ongoing subscriber giveaway. And lastly, check out those links in the description for ways that you can help support us here at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle.